You are not here to chase attention, you are here to earn respect, quietly. There is a deep, unshakable power in restraint, in not reacting, in not announcing every move, in withholding your fire until it becomes undeniable heat. The world today is obsessed with declarations, public plans, shouted goals, constant announcements, but you must resist this noise. You must make peace with the quiet. That's where true power builds. In silence, in effort, in devotion to a standard no one sees but you, the man who truly wants to build doesn't stop to explain. He works while others talk. He trains while others pose. He learns while others scroll. The Stoics taught us to cultivate excellence not for applause, but for alignment, with nature, with truth, with virtue, and none of that requires an audience. That requires solitude, stillness, and a relentless commitment to growth without validation. The stronger you become internally, the less external approval matters, and that is liberation. Because once you no longer need the world's approval, you can focus on what truly matters, your discipline, your progress, your purpose. You can keep your energy locked into what you are becoming, not what you are broadcasting. You no longer have to explain, you simply embody. You live the philosophy in your actions, in your decisions, in your posture, in your habits. You are becoming something, even when no one sees it. That's what people forget. That the most meaningful changes often happen unseen, when the crowd leaves, when the lights dim, when it's just you and your commitment. That's the moment of truth. Will you keep going, even when no one's watching? Will you train when no one thanks you? Will you study when no one praises you? Will you master your emotions when the world doesn't applaud your restraint? That's the true test, the silent war inside yourself. You must learn to love the process more than the performance. To fall in love with becoming, not being seen becoming, because most people don't want change. They want the image of change. They want to look disciplined, not be disciplined. They want to be noticed growing, not actually grow. That's where you separate yourself. Because your growth doesn't require cameras. It requires consistency. There's a peace that comes when you no longer have to announce what you're doing, when you're no longer addicted to attention, when you're no longer seeking permission to evolve. The world doesn't need to agree with your transformation. It doesn't need to understand your decisions. It doesn't need to validate your path. It only needs to witness the result one day, and it will. The result that was built in silence, in struggle, in repetition, in choosing what is right over what is easy. Every single day the Stoics believed that all external things are indifferent, that what matters most is not what happens to us, but how we respond. And you can't control that response without inner stillness. You must become unshakable, not because life won't shake you, but because you've trained yourself to stand through the storm, and that training, it's private, it's painful, it's slow, but it's also sacred. There will be days when you doubt the silence, when you feel invisible, when you wonder if all this effort in private is worth it. But you must remember, silence is the space where clarity is born. It's where you learn who you are without noise, without the echo of likes or comments or applause. You find your truth there, your rhythm, your power, and from that place, you build something no one can take from you. You have to detach from the urge to explain yourself. Not everyone will understand your silence. Not everyone will respect your process, but they don't have to. Your job is not to be understood. Your job is to be undeniable, to let your presence speak so loud, your voice becomes unnecessary. To let your results command respect, not your announcements. That is how Stoics operated. That is how legacies are built. You can learn more in 1 hour of silence than in 10 hours of noise. Silence is your advantage. It allows you to observe, to plan, to sharpen, to conserve energy. In a world constantly trying to distract you, silence is rebellion, discipline is rebellion, restraint is rebellion, and your growth, your real growth, will not look like a highlight reel. It will look like early mornings, like turning down temptations, like saying no to easy paths, like showing up when motivation dies. That is what building in silence looks like. Most people want success quickly so they can prove something. But the Stoic seeks mastery over self, not over others. They train for inner excellence. They seek wisdom, not recognition. And wisdom is quiet. Wisdom is patient. Wisdom doesn't need the spotlight. It is comfortable in the shadows, shaping the soul of the one who chooses the hard path. Build yourself like no one is watching. Because in truth, no one is. Not really. People are too busy watching themselves. That means you're free, free to fail in peace, free to experiment, free to improve without the pressure of performance, and that's the best place to grow. Growth under pressure to perform is fragile. Growth in silence is unbreakable. You will be misunderstood. That is the price of quiet growth. You will be underestimated. That is the advantage of quiet growth. You will be ignored. That is the gift of quiet growth. Because when you're ignored, no one interrupts you, no one derails your progress, no one clutters your thinking, and in that space you create, you rebuild, you ascend in silence, you confront your limits, you meet the real you, not the filtered version. You sit with your thoughts, your habits, your flaws, and in facing those, you evolve, not for show, not for fame, but for peace, for strength, for self-respect. That's the highest goal, not applause, but alignment, not fame, but freedom, not followers, but foundation. You don't have to announce your rise, you just have to rise. You don't have to declare your breakthrough, you just have to break through. The Stoics would remind you that the man who holds his tongue controls his destiny, that the one who disciplines his impulses rules himself. And the one who masters himself is ready for anything life brings. Most people rush toward the world, begging for attention, grasping for validation, seeking some external confirmation that they matter, that they are enough. But the man who understands his value does not move like that. He knows that worth is not shouted, it is shown, that true power does not need permission to exist. It needs no spotlight to shine. He does not chase the world because he knows that when you become something real, the world has no choice but to come to you. You must first become still. That's where it all begins. Not with noise, not with movement, but with stillness. In stillness, you see things clearly. You hear yourself for the first time. You start to separate your voice from the voices of others. You no longer mistake distractions for purpose. You begin to recognize the difference between popularity and authenticity, between motion and progress, between noise and truth. The Stoics believed in cultivating the inner fortress, the place inside you that cannot be touched by fortune or misfortune. That inner fortress is built in silence. It is built in reflection. It is built in the early mornings when the rest of the world is asleep. It is built when you say no to things that once ruled you, when you stop explaining and start becoming, when you no longer need to be seen because you are becoming someone that cannot be ignored. You must stop trying to prove yourself to people who do not even know who they are. That kind of life will exhaust you. That kind of path will kill your fire before it's fully lit. Instead, retreat, go deep, go inward, build your mind, sharpen your discipline, master your habits, cultivate your character so strongly that it radiates without a word. That is how you build yourself in silence. The most powerful men you know were not made in front of cameras. They were made in the quiet. They were made in rejection, in heartbreak, in setbacks, in self-discipline, in sacrifice. They were not talking about what they were going to do. They were doing it. While others discussed dreams, they were taking steps. While others sought shortcuts, they stayed the course. While others posted every small win, they kept their eyes on the long game. You must stop giving people access to your process who have not earned the right to witness your becoming. Not every stage of your growth is meant for display. There are some seasons where you must go missing, not because you are lost, but because you are working, because you are building something so strong that when you return, you no longer need to convince anyone. You will have become undeniable. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that everything outside of his control was indifferent. neither good nor bad unless he gave it permission to affect him, you have that same power. You can choose silence over reaction, you can choose strategy over emotion, you can choose solitude over validation, you can focus your energy so completely on who you are becoming that there is no room left to wonder what others think. Let your progress become your voice. Let your growth be your argument, let your excellence silence every doubt. That is the Stoic path. No boasting, no begging, just quiet, consistent excellence. Every day you sharpen, every day you show up. And while others are busy trying to look successful, you are becoming successful, and eventually they will ask how you did it, and you won't need to say a word. You cannot become who you are meant to be if you are constantly distracted by who others want you to be. You must withdraw from the chaos. You must create space for transformation. You must sit with your discomfort, face your weakness, and commit to being greater than the habits and beliefs that once ruled you. This is the hard work, and it is done in silence, in places without applause, in places without witnesses. There is a reason why the most disciplined men seem unbothered. It's not that they don't feel. It's that they've trained their emotions. They've built a system inside themselves that isn't ruled by impulse. They've chosen to master reaction before trying to master the world. That's what silence gives you. Space to think, space to recalibrate, space to remember what really matters. You are not behind, you are not late, you are not forgotten, you are building, and every great structure begins underground. Foundation first, depth before display, integrity before image, and all of that takes time, all of that takes silence. All of that takes a kind of inner rebellion where you say no to distractions, no to validation, and yes to the long road of mastery. When the Stoics spoke of virtue, they were not speaking of some soft ideal. They meant strength, courage, discipline, wisdom, justice, living in alignment with your highest values, even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. Because that's who you really are, not who you pretend to be in front of others, but who you choose to be in the dark. When no one else can hold you accountable, there is nothing more powerful than a man who has nothing to prove but everything to offer. And the only way to become that man is through silence, through restraint, through doing the work when it's boring, through saying no when it's tempting, through being faithful to your mission even when the world tries to distract you with noise. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you grow. Every time you choose discipline over indulgence, you rise. Every time you choose to stay the course when no one claps, you strengthen your soul. That is what it means to build yourself in silence. That is what it means to let the world come to you, not because you manipulated it, but because you mastered yourself. The Stoics believed in the concept of eudaimonia, the flourishing life, not the happy life. A life of meaning, not comfort, and that life is built not in public, but in private. It is built not with declarations, but with discipline. It is built not with validation, but with virtue. You don't need to be seen every day. You need to be better every day. You don't need to be louder. You need to be clearer. You don't need to move faster. You need to move truer. Every time you choose silence over noise, substance over appearance, discipline over distraction, you are building something powerful. You are becoming someone unshakable.